What if I told you that America's most iconic monument sat unfinished for 25 years, looking like a massive stone stump in the middle of Washington, D.C.? On December 5th, 1884, workers placed the final piece atop the Washington Monument, completing a journey that began in 1848 and nearly ended in disaster multiple times. Stay with me, because this story of perseverance proves that the most significant achievements often take longer than anyone ever imagined. Picture this. It's 1848, and America wants to honor George Washington, the man who led them to independence and became their first president. They decide to build a monument unlike anything the world has ever seen, an obelisk. Simple, elegant, soaring 555 feet into the sky, the tallest structure on Earth. But here's where it gets interesting. They start building with private donations. Citizens give what they can. States send stones to be incorporated into the structure. Even foreign countries contribute. Pope Pius IX sends a block of marble from the Temple of Concord in Rome. Everything is going smoothly, and by 1854, the monument stands 152 feet tall. Then disaster strikes. One night, a group calling themselves the Know-Nothings, who oppose Catholic immigration, sneaks in and steals the Pope's stone. They smash it to pieces and throw it into the Potomac River. The scandal terrifies donors. Contributions dry up. Construction grinds to a halt. And then comes the Civil War. Brother fights brother. The nation tears itself apart. That half-finished monument sits there, 152 feet of lonely marble, nicknamed the Beef Depot Monument because the Union Army uses the ground around it to graze cattle. For 25 years, it stands frozen in time, a symbol of America's broken dreams. But here's the beautiful part. After the war, Americans refused to give up. In 1876, for the nation's centennial, Congress finally took over the project. They bring in the Army Corps of Engineers. Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Casey examines the foundation and discovers it's not strong enough to support the weight they plan to place on it. Instead of starting over, he reinforces it, strengthening the base with 13,000 tons of concrete and solid masonry. Over the next 5 years, workers labor in all weather, hauling massive blocks of marble up the structure. No modern cranes or elevators, just pulleys, determination, and engineering genius. They're building something that will outlast them all, something their great-grandchildren will still visit. Finally, on December 5, 1884, they hoisted the aluminum capstone into place. Aluminum, which in those days was more precious than silver. At the very peak, they inscribe Laus Deo, meaning praise be to God. The tallest structure in the world is complete. 36 years after it began, 555 feet, 5 1/8 inches of marble and determination. And here's something remarkable. They built it to last. No mortar holds those stones together above the 150-foot mark. Just gravity, precision, and perfect engineering. It survived earthquakes, hurricanes, and more than a century of weather. That monument has stood watch over Washington, D.C. through 2 world wars, civil rights movements, celebrations, and sorrows. Here's what moves me about December 5th, 1884. Those workers who placed that final stone never gave up on a dream that had been abandoned for a quarter century. They looked at an unfinished stub and said, "We can finish this." They inherited someone else's incomplete vision and made it their own mission. Think about the projects you've abandoned, the dreams you put on hold, the stories you meant to write, the memories you intended to preserve, the legacy you plan to create for your family. Maybe it's been years. Perhaps you've even forgotten why you started. The Washington Monument teaches us something powerful. It doesn't matter how long something takes. It doesn't matter if you have to stop and start. It doesn't matter if the original materials aren't available anymore, and you have to use what you have now. What matters is finishing. Your family history is your monument. Every story you write down, every memory you preserve, every photograph you label is another stone placed with care. Maybe you started this project 5 years ago and got distracted. Perhaps you've been meaning to interview your grandmother for a decade. Maybe you think it's too late. It's not too late. The Washington Monument sat unfinished for 25 years and still became the world's tallest structure. Your story deserves the same perseverance. Pick up where you left off. Use different materials if you need to. The change in tone, the gap in time, doesn't make it less valuable. It makes it real. So here's my challenge. This week, pick up one abandoned project. Write one story you've been postponing. Make one phone call to that relative while you still can. Place one more stone on your family's monument. Because 36 years from now, someone in your family will be grateful you didn't give up. What's one project you've abandoned that deserves to be completed? Please drop a comment below and let me know. Let's hold each other accountable to finishing what we started. Your monument is waiting. If this story of persistence and completion inspired you, you're in precisely the right place. Here at History Sparks, we believe that the most meaningful achievements are often the ones that took the longest to complete. We're building a community of people who understand that it's never too late to finish what you started. Hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell right now, because every single day we're sharing stories that remind you why persistence matters. Tomorrow's story could be the one that finally motivates you to complete that dream you've been carrying for years. Join the History Sparks community today. Together, we're proving that the most significant monuments aren't just made of stone. They're made of stories, memories, and the determination to see things through to the end. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow with another story that proves it's never too late to finish strong. Until then, keep building your legacy, one stone at a time.